Welcome to another episode of the Show. Today, this is take two of this. We're going with Toby Richards, who's a good friend of mine out here in Dubai. Toby is a former Royal Marine, he's competed at a very high level, he's super jacked, and has a very interesting background and interesting knowledge and perspective on fitness. Today, we're going to delve into his mindset, his thoughts on fitness, and some other cool stories he has. So, thank you very much for your time today, Toby.
Thank you for having me, mate.
Firstly, one thing I've never asked you this, I always want to delve into, you going into the Marines. What was the starting point for that? Was that something you'd always want to do as a child?
Good question. Actually, I didn't really know why I joined until I'd left, and then I kind of figured out it was a string of events, I think. But as I grew up in a countryside in Wales, and you either become like a builder, a plumber, or electrician. So that was just kind of what I grew up thinking. Oh, I'm gonna be an electrician. Most of my men in my family have been electricians, and but I started boxing quite young, like 13, 14, so I got a love for the fitness side of things. And I went to college for one day. Actually, I went to college for half a day to do an electrician's course. I sat there for like 2 hours, looking around at the sort of people there. This is, I was like, this is not for me. So then I met my friend at lunch with KFC. And he's like, oh, I love the course. It's going to be great. People seem really cool. What about you? I said, I'm going home. He's like, what do you mean you're going home? I said, I'm going home. I said, I'm not staying here. So I got the bus home. I was 16 at the time. And then the next day I got a train to Cardiff and signed up for the Marines. It was something that I always wanted to push myself with it. Obviously, the Royal Marines in the UK is like the hardest to get into as well. Like, right, if I start at the top, I can't get into that one, then I'll go work my way down. So, there was something in me. I just knew I couldn't sit in a classroom. I had no attention span at all to sit there and listen. I had to go and, do something exciting, I think.
What was the biggest challenge you've had in joining the Marines? Was the training hard?
Physically, the training's hard for everyone. The mental side of it is what really, it's aimed towards breaking you mentally. Obviously, I joined at 17. There was nothing I wanted to do outside of the Marines. Didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't really experience life as an adult outside. So for me, there was nothing pulling me away from it. So when it got hard, I kind of didn't have like a plan B. Because I was so young, I found everything funny. Like, some people found it like, if I did it now, I'd probably take it personally. I think I'd get a bit pissed off and frustrated, but I was so young and probably stupid. Nothing really got to me. Only the physical side of stuff, was very difficult. But the whole, mental side, bullshit, breaking you down kind of thing, I just saw it as a bit of a game, really. I can't say I would do the same now.
What would be an example of them trying to break you down?
So, for example, you'd have to, wash most of your clothes by hand, and then you'd have to dry it all in, one big drying room. So what they do is they make you get every single piece of clothing filthy at 2 o'clock in the morning outside, get 6, 7, 8 pairs of clothes filthy, and then be like, right, you got an inspection 6 a.m. And if it's not clean, you lose your weekend. And you can't get it clean. It's just guys are really trying hard to get it clean and dry before 6 a.m. so they can get their weekend. And I just I don't care about the weekend, I have nothing to do with the weekend. So it's things like that they would do, and it would sleep deprivation, and they give you an impossible task that you think in your head, right, I'll try my best to complete this, but they know you can't do it. And as soon as you realize you can't do it, but you just try your best, it's that pushing you till past the point of failure, really.
What do you think's the biggest lesson you learned from the training?
There's just so many more levels that you can go to with your mindset. And a lot of it comes through the brotherhood of it and the support system around you. But there's so many more levels. When you think you're done, you've got another mile in you, or you've got another day or another week. So it's just kind of exactly how life is. There's times in life when you think, right, I'm done here, or I'm so frustrated, I'm going to quit on something. Just do it another day, or just do another mile. So I think there's always levels you can go to until you really are done, I think.
And then you went on tour. Where did you go? Afghanistan, Iraq? Do you go anywhere?
No, I didn't do Afghanistan.
You did good.
No.
Where did you go?
I did like humanitarian stuff mostly. I did like counterterrorism stuff. I did humanitarian. Remember I forget the year, maybe 2014, there was a big Ebola outbreak in Sierra Leone. That was like one of the last thing that I did. The UK sent sort of troops out there to help with the disease spread, and my job out there was with the team just doing protection, just for like the hospital supplies and things like that, really.
What was the coolest story you have for the Marines? There's got to be something that you're allowed to tell.
Coolest story.
Was there anything that's particularly memorable?
It's hard to pinpoint one exact thing. I'll get back to you on that one. I'll have a think about it. I'll get back to you.
And what was the deciding factor for you to then leave the military?
Obviously, I joined young. I joined at 17, and then I left at 22, so I did just short of 5 years. At 17, I was on £750 a month with the Marines. I thought, this is pretty good. Beer and food. What else do I need? And as you got a little bit older, I got to like 20, 21. I think my wage was like £1,200 a month, which is...
That was working full-time in the Marines?
I was working full-time. But again, your accommodation's paid for, food's dead cheap. You don't really have a lot of outgoings. So it's good. It's a young man's game, though. And I was a machine gunner, platoon weapons machine gunner. So because that's quite a sought-after profession, sorry, what word I'm looking for? To go into the next step, so the promotion rate is very slow. So at 21, I was looking at another 5 years before I get promoted. So that was me. I would be on the same wage for 5 years. So at 26, I'd still be on £1,200-1,300 a month. There was nothing exciting coming up. There was no trips that I was really looking forward to or tours I was looking forward to. Things had slowed down a little bit. So I was like, okay, I want to earn more money, really. At 21, I was like, I don't want to be on this wage for the next 5 years. So my original job was to leave to do close protection, which you can do like on ships and things like this, or on ground. And within, I think it was like 2 weeks of me leaving, I ended up getting a criminal record. It was nothing bad. It was like fighting in Cardiff, which so many people did, but I got caught, and I couldn't get my license. Couldn't get a license for it. So that was a point then I realized, okay, I've kind of fucked up a little bit, because I've left my solid career, which I actually really loved, to pursue something else, but now I can't pursue that. So it was outside of the Marines. Couldn't go back in, and I had no future ahead of me. So that's another story.
And at that point, then I presume you went into a lot of fitness?
Yeah, so at the point then I moved to Ibiza, packed my car up, sold my furniture, and I moved to Ibiza for...
Became a stripper?
No, I didn't become a stripper at the time. That's later. And I was there, and I was in Ibiza, and my stepfather at the time was living there. You know, we had a nice villa. I had pretty much like everything 22-year-old lad could want. And I just wasn't happy with it. And I was like, what am I doing here? He's like, oh, you can get some work here. You know, you can do some security work here. You won't need a license. It's just not, there was something missing, you know. It was like that hard work and that thing that I was so used to. So that's when I went back to the UK, and I did a PT course then, back in the UK.
And this is not putting words in your mouth, but I remember when I did my PT course when I was 18, I was very underwhelmed with what they teach you.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't learn anything on it. And that's not trying to sound arrogant. They don't teach you an awful lot at all.
Yeah. It's a common theme I've seen over and over again. It's where people are like, I'm qualified to PT, that means nothing. It's like...
Yeah. Do you know, my course was a 6-week course. I'd already been training and into training for years before that. So everything I learned through sort of self-research and things like that. And I was already training people by that time anyway. But yeah, the course, 6 weeks, and it's mostly they teach you how to write plans. And anyone can do that.
I think it's saying like it. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And it's like, if you're already jacked and in really good shape, you probably know quite a lot more. And if you're in way better shape than the people teaching the course, it's like chances are you probably know maybe a little bit more than them in some respects.
You've been through the process yourself, haven't you already? And actually, not being mean, but that was the case. Like the PTs teaching the course looked like they needed PTs.
Yeah, that's never a good point. And in terms of from there, where did your passion from bodybuilding and like pushing and training really come from there?
That came from the Marines as well, to be honest. When I left, I kind of struggled with not being in a routine. You know, in the Marines, it was always wake up, you train, you do like weapon drills, you do lectures, and then you train again. And then I was so used to that like hard and scheduled kind of training. When I left, I found myself really lost. And it was actually on the PT course that I met a guy. He'd done a couple of shows before. Oh, you're in good shape. You should compete. I was like, get on stage in little pants. It's like,
get oiled up and tan.
Yeah, I was like, oh, the guys in the Marines will see me doing this, and I'll like never live it down. But he's like, oh, just try it, you'll like it. So I probably like 2 weeks into the prep, I started like absolutely loving it. I felt like myself again, because I was going through a bit of a strange stage when I left, and like the routine of it and how hard it was and how I had to actually like push myself mentally again. I just fell in love with the process of it, and I thought, how far can I go? You know, how lean can I get before I want to quit and things like that. So I fell in love with the
journey, not the destination.
Yeah, exactly. I actually don't really like competing.
No, do I just I like suffering and getting shredded in the process to get there. That like I remember like last 2 times I competed, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing this for? Like lying on some shitty floor waiting to go on stage, and like this is just
show day.
Complete waste of time.
It's like such a come down.
Yeah,
you think it's going to be so glamorous, and then you're 4 minutes on stage. If you do well, it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
Don't do well, you think, why the fuck was I like queuing up to get my registration for 3 hours with no food and water so I can make weight, and then lying backstage for another 3 hours, and then they postpone the show for an hour. I'm like, what? And you pay like what, 500 quid to do this?
Yeah. I'm like, and then everything you paid to go in towards the prep in terms of everything else.
It costs you thousands, doesn't it?
Yeah.
By the time you get onto stage, it costs you thousands. If you don't have a good show day, it's tough.
And that's why I think it's so important that people do things for the right reasons. I think one of the things we were talking about before the podcast was social media and the evolution of social media. And I actually think, like, I've spoken to so many people the last few weeks who've gotten just lost interest in social media. Like, I still obviously post every day on social media and do what I do, but I don't like going on it myself. I like longer form content like this, like podcasts or like listening to people so I can try and learn. Whereas like you're watching like 30-second viral videos that's not going to teach you anything.
Yeah, I think social media for like people like ourselves is good to put out, but a lot of people if they don't put out, they're just taking in, consuming. So yeah, so it can be a very negative and confusing place as well. I try not to consume too much. I like to post. Obviously, like as a online coach, I kind of feel the more I post and more I put out, the more it comes back to me. So it's part of how I make a living. But I feel like if you're not making a living from social media, it can be very negative, especially when you see, like you said, there's 30-second clips on how to train, and then people get this whole idea on how to train from a 30-second clip. People are kind of losing interest with the whole, like, I used to look at men's health magazines.
I used to buy like all the flex magazines, right?
Yeah. It's like, how do I do a bench press?
I think my parents just think I was gay because all these magazines are like everywhere. And I think that's the thing as well, is that social media is great because the amount of information is put out there, but also a lot of the information that's put out there isn't necessarily correct. Or like, you can say, actually, I might start doing this, might be quite funny. You could start putting like whatever the fuck you want out there that's completely the opposite of what you do. I might do it and see if anyone calls me out. Yeah. Because like the reality is that there's so many people who, and no disrespect to everyone has the right to like try and teach people and whatever, but people are trying to teach stuff they don't fully understand or they can't actually do themselves, and that's very disingenuous. And a lot of people are trying to do that to try and make quick money, and I think those people get found out very quickly. Because why I resonated with you straight away is because I know that you like the process of everything, and when you enjoy the process, you're not doing it to make money. It's just a part of who you are and what you want to do.
Yeah, it's a side effect of actually what you love, isn't it? Yeah, I think since COVID, everybody became an online coach, right? Like everybody did. And I'm not going to slate anybody because everyone had to find a way to make money. But there's an awful lot of like false information out there, and guys who've been training for 18 months, 2 years, and they look good because they got on their first steroid cycle the first day they stepped in the gym. So people who don't know much about the sport look at them and go, oh, he looks really good. He knows what he's doing. And then you get like all this stream of really unexperienced, uneducated coaches who look good because they know how to get on gear and lift incorrectly. And they're trying to teach people who are natural, who work a full-time job, how to get in shape and how to do what they've done. And it's like night and day.
It's apples and oranges, right?
Yeah,
like it's ironic you put it like that, because that's probably one of the easiest ways to explain it, and you can see them a mile off.
Yeah.
And how long have you been training for?
15 years.
Yes, it's probably since I was like, I think I stepped in the gym first when I was like 15, 16. It's a funny story. The first time I went to the gym, I had no idea what I was doing. And this is when I actually wished I had social media then. So I went to this gym, I went and trained for 3 hours, did every single machine they had in there. And then I went to KFC because I was like, you eat loads of chicken to get massive. And completely the wrong thing. I think next day I couldn't even walk. Like, but that's the reality where like people are very lucky now that social media is easy to have access to information, but you just need to be aware of who you're listening to and why. And I think even how that makes you feel, because even though I know that although I've done well in what I do, you always look ahead of you rather than what's behind you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you get an inferiority complex because, I don't know, you've got a certain car, but someone's got the X car, or someone's got, you've got 18-inch biceps, someone's got 20-inch biceps, but you always want more, right? And it's
human nature.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to have. Have you found that something that's maybe happened to you a bit and sometimes made you want to pull back?
Sorry, with
Well, like with your physique, for example, like it's difficult sometimes. Like you mentioned before this that you unfollowed a lot of people in bodybuilding because it was just becoming a bit consuming.
Yeah, okay. Actually, it's interesting. I had, I've got a client of mine, and he's competing this summer natural men's physique competition, and he's come like an incredibly long way. And he sent me a message just last night being like, oh, I'm having doubts if I'm going to be good enough to go on stage. Am I going to be ready in time? And I sent him a voice note back, and I said, look, I've done 16 bodybuilding competitions. 8 of those are, high level international ones. And I said, I have the exact same feeling a few weeks before a competition. I look at myself in the mirror and I go, oh, no, my legs are way too small to compete with these guys. Or I've seen a guy I'm competing against, and I'm fairly confident, and I'm like, this guy's going to smash me. And I think it's, at that time, I put so much effort and put so much time. I think that's like, we all have a loser, right, in our head. We all have a loser and a winner, and it's who you want to listen to. So like the loser voice will try and convince you, like, don't compete. You've already put some time and effort. What's the point in doing it to come 4th or 5th? But then that winner that, we choose who we listen to. And I go on show day and I'll smash those guys most of the time. But at one point it makes me want to be like, oh, I can't, what's the point in this?
What have you found is the best way to overcome
that? Action. I think action always outweighs negative thoughts. Work harder, work smarter, learn more, pose more. Not just with bodybuilding, but with everything, I guess. Just every time you've got a negative thought in your head, you can usually get rid of it by a physical action.
Change your state.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very hard to convince yourself once you've got a negative thought. If I'm sitting at this chair now with a negative thought in my head, it might be very difficult for me to change that to a positive thought in the same environment, doing nothing. If I go and practice something or try to improve at something, even if it's just 1 hour, I might finish that 1 hour session and be like, actually, no, I am ready, or I am on the right track. So I always think action is always going to outweigh everything, whether you want to do it or not. Just do it.
There's a saying I love, and it's like action beats anxiety, because I think one of the reasons that most men are really unhappy is they've got too much fucking free time and they're sitting there twiddling their thumbs and they get distracted into women, drugs, drinking.
Yeah, it is.
Because they've got too much idle time to think of what am I doing, rather than if you're busy proactively, whether it's training, building a business, doing whatever, like you haven't got idle time, you're sitting there like scratching your ass wondering what you should do.
It's like if I go on a vacation.
Yeah, I sometimes hate that.
First day I was like, oh, this is nice and chill. The second day I'm like, okay, I need to do something. I can't sit there. It's probably not a very positive thing for me to have, but I have to earn downtime. I have to earn a chance to relax, personally for me. So I have to like work very hard. So I feel like, oh, okay, I've earned this.
Deserved.
Yeah. If I'm not busy for some reason for 2 or 3 days, I get anxious. I get like, oh, I'm not going anywhere in life. You know, I'm cruising. So if I'm busy, and I'm doing stuff and I'm putting action into practice, creates a very positive energy.
When we come to your sort of like ethos with fitness and training, I know you're doing a lot of stuff differently now, but what would you say your main training style looks like? Obviously, we've trained together a few times.
At the moment, or just
at the moment?
At the moment.
Well, let's go back to when you were competing, maybe.
So like bodybuilding style. Yeah. I've always been a little bit like, I'm not an obsessive person. It's like some people, I feel they have to do the same exercise as they did last Monday, and they have to do an extra kilo or an extra rep. You know, like the progressive overload people, and they're very obsessive with logbooking everything. And I'm not going to criticize that. That works for some people. For me, my training's always been off of feeling rather than data. So some days I can go in the gym and I don't feel like lifting heavy, so I won't lift heavy. I will just do reps and reps and reps, and I'll get an insane pump. And some days I'll go in the gym and I will feel like really strong, like I want to lift heavy today. So as long as my session, I feel like I've accomplished something mentally as well as physically, I'm usually pretty happy with that. I don't chase numbers in my training, and I don't chase logbooks or data, if you like.
It's and this is, I think, the most important thing for people to understand listening to this is it's down to human psychology, right? Some people are massive nerds and will fucking track everything. And like, I've just started working with Luke Miller, I think I spoke to you before about it, and his check-in sheet, like, it would take me an hour to fill it in if I did it all. And I literally said to him, I'm not doing this. Like that, that would stress me out more than the result of the data put into it. So it's like, you just need my photos, my weight, and general feedback, right? I'm not filling in like, what did my shit look like every single day? And do you know what I mean? No, that's too much. So I think understanding people's psychology is really important. I'm probably more in the middle ground where I like to track some stuff, but I think the big thing that I find where that goes very wrong for anyone listening to this is that, like I did it recently on T-bar rows, like trying to keep chucking more plates on it, and eventually you're starting to hyperextend off the machines. It's like, you have to understand there's adding weight, but within the realm of form, which if you're really trying to push it, your form is eventually going to start to slide.
Yeah, it's not going to keep progressing at the rate that you think the logbook is. And the thing with like a lot of logging stuff as well is many people are so accurate on what they're logging, but they're not necessarily accurate on like how many hours sleep did you get, how much sodium did you have, did you have an argument with your girlfriend before you come to train? Yeah, there's lots of different things I think that can affect it. So yeah, you might have got an extra rep this week, but last week, were they actually better? Did you actually train better? Did you actually contract more? Did you actually make more progress last week than this week? But the book is saying you've made more progress. But I think for me, like I said, it's off a feeling. I know if I've had a good session, even if I haven't lifted as heavy as before.
It's interesting you say that as well, I think, because you have to learn to manage yourself. So, for example, I went away 2 weeks ago for 4 or 5 days. I actually ended up getting sick, so I didn't train at all when I was there. I came back, and first day or two I was still a bit ill, but then my strength just shot up since coming back because I'd probably massively burnt myself out, but I'm too strong-minded to be like I wake up in the morning, my knees just hurt, and I'm like, it's fine. Like, that's just how it is. You know, I'm 33 now, I'm getting old. And like, that's the reality of like when your body's like saying like, you should probably take a few days off. And I think that's understanding your body and also your psychology. You sometimes need to manage yourself and be like, I need some time off. I'm never really a fan of, particularly with clients, like scheduling in deloads, because
exactly
the reality is like you end up getting the forced one, right? Like you get sick, you go away, whatever. Like I don't think that we don't live in a, you're not like during the 80s, we live in a fucking box and then you go and train, you go back in your fucking house and
like life happens
to
you as well. So.
Right, you got shit that happens, you've relationship issues, business issues, you might have whatever going on. So I think it's just understanding, like actually listening to your body of what's going on, being like, everything really hurts in terms of my joints and my strength not going anywhere for the last 3 weeks. I'm eating like the world. Maybe I need to take a week off.
Yeah, I think there's always signs there, isn't it? I mean, people plan deloads in and that's fine, but again with me, I don't plan deloads in with myself or my clients because 9 out of 10 people, they will have okay, I'm going on a long weekend somewhere. I'm not going to be training. Or like you said, I've got sick. Especially the last 2 years, people have been getting sick more than ever, right? People take a week off or 10 days off every probably 12 weeks or something anyway.
Yeah.
Naturally, so.
It's an important thing. And I think one of the things I know about you is you fucking love to train and work out. Because every time I look on your fucking social media, I give a really good example of this. Last time me and Toby trained, we trained arms because his arms are much bigger than mine. I'm trying to catch him. So when he messaged me, but I'm running 10 minutes later behind a boxing session, turn up and he's fucking doing like kickboxing for like an hour, then go straight into train arms afterwards. It's like, fuck me. Like you, and then I think you did a rowing session or something stupid later on that day. Like you love training, like just generally exercising a lot, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that you've always had, maybe from the Marines, where you were training twice a day, or?
Even before the Marines, actually, I think exercise for me has always been like therapy, because that's a strong word. I needed therapy when I was 13, but it's always been like a nice like
release.
Yeah, release for me. Yeah, like my family would be watching TV in December in Wales, and I'd be outside skipping, punch bag, just, you know, the little Sony Ericsson playing music and something like that. So I've always been obsessed with it. Like my sisters used to horse riding, like lessons and sessions and stuff. And I'd be bored, so my dad would be like, see how many laps of the field you can run around in an hour. Probably just stop me yapping in his ear. But I was always obsessed with like how far can I run? How long can I skip for? How many push-ups can I do? And it's always been, I know, like I'm addicted, I think, to the feeling afterwards, you know, that endorphin rush. So I think I still have that now. Like at 30, I still can't really go a day without having some endorphin rush, which is addictive, isn't it? It's like bodybuilding for me was not about the physique as such. Part of it was I always wanted to look good. I always wanted to have that physique, but I'm not competing anymore, and I'm not trying to get any bigger. I'm not obsessed with just being this huge guy. I'm obsessed with the feeling it took to put on muscle. That's what I was obsessed with. And now I'm going into like different areas. Like I'm trying to learn the splits now. I'm doing Muay Thai, doing Kung Fu, things like this. So I'm trying to push my body in different ways.
And I think that's an important thing too. I think it's the thing for me is I get fulfillment from progression in life. So for me, it's like, how much can I physically fucking push myself every day? And like training's the daily test of like, how much can you really give it today? And there's nothing more disappointing when you go and work out afterwards. Oh, fuck, like I know I had more there. And if you don't leave the gym and you're a little bit fucked, I'm a little bit disappointed. And that's one of the key things I think is that for success in life generally is your ability to endure suffering.
Yeah.
It's like you can choose to suffer now, like in a small, like short period of time, or you can suffer for the next fucking 30 years. And I think that's the reality with most people when it comes to like they've never been in shape. They're not willing to like adhere to the shorter term pain of the initial part of the process, and then they end up suffering for the whole of their life because they don't take that first leap.
Because it's something you have to develop, right?
It's a mindset.
Is like the suffering and the pain and the unpleasantness of it. Because when you first do something, it's like if the shower's hot and it goes cold, naturally you want to jump out, right? But the more you do that, the more you build up that part of your brain that can endure. I can't remember the scientific part of it, but I heard it somewhere and it made a lot of sense to me. So it's like, how do you push yourself? Like even on the rowing stuff. Oh, you're so fit. I'll go on it. I did a marathon after a hangover and I hadn't ran for 6 years and I was a 100-kilo bodybuilder. Like, oh, how have you done that? You're so fit. I said, I'm not at all fit. It's just, you can endure it. Like, ask someone who's never done anything like that and they can't do it. But every time you push yourself a little bit more, it's so much easier to go through those sort of, that process, I think, of injury.
Yeah, and it's just building mental resilience. And I think that's the biggest issue that the world has is people getting soft. And I actually said this something the other day. I feel like Dubai's making me soft in some respects. Like I have my fucking housemaid comes around every day. My car gets cleaned for me. Like food gets delivered. You don't have to do anything. And it's like, although it's a highly efficient, like highly productive life, it does make you soft as shit in a lot of respects. And in some respects, I was like, maybe I just need to like start doing something weird, like sleeping on the floor or something like a bit fucking just like break up the pattern. And I think the more you can push yourself more outside of like your realm of comfort, because one of the things I say even to like the people we work with in terms of fitness or helping their businesses is like, you should be feeling like probably 3 to 4 days a week, like uncomfortable, slightly scared of what you're doing at the moment. And that's when you know you're like the upper end of the threshold of what you're doing and you're like pushing your potential. Problem is that most people aren't willing to go anywhere near that, and they want to stay in the middle of their comfort zone. And if you stay there, you're never going to go anywhere. You're just going to keep getting the same you got.
It's an easy rut to fall into, isn't it? It's, again, especially in Dubai where everything's done for us, such an easy life for the majority of us anyway. I feel like anything with fitness related as well, bodybuilding, any sport you do, you have to have that element where you push yourself, because we still need it, I think, to be healthy and functioning. You have to feel like if you finish a session, and you're like, even the kickboxing sessions I do, when I finish those sessions, I'm like, fuck, that's over. Even though I love it, I'm like, fucking glad that ended. And I'm like looking at the clock and I'm like, oh, can't be much longer left. But if I train on my own sometimes, will I push myself that hard? Probably not. And never push yourself as hard as someone else will push you. No matter how strong mentally you are, if someone goes, do an extra rep or do an extra 10 seconds or go a little bit faster, you're going to do it, because we bargain with ourselves, don't we, in our own heads.
And also as men, we're highly competitive, so no one wants to push you out.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember, I don't know if you know George Armstrong, he's been on the podcast episode before all this and probably verging on the edge of psychotic. I don't think I've ever trained with him like it. And he, like, there was 3 of us training. I remember just with first exercise doing lying hamstring curl, and you know, you're like, this is going to be fucking awful. Like after the first set, you can see how this is going to go.
I fucked up.
Yeah, it's like, this is going to be interesting. And but that's the key thing. I think one of the most important things for anyone, if you struggle to push your training, is to go and train with someone else, ideally who's more advanced than you.
Yeah.
Because they'll push you and give you a real kick up the arse, and also a perspective in terms of like strength levels. Because it's one of the biggest things I think with people in the, like, say from me moving from the UK to here, just generally, is that it's very easy to be a big fish in a small pond in like a little town in Wales, little town in England. Whereas you come to Dubai or you go to the US or wherever, no one gives a fucking shit. Like, there's someone who's bigger than you, someone who's stronger than you, someone who's fitter than you, someone richer than you, someone's got more followers than you, whatever. Like,
and that's naturally then how you're going to progress, isn't it, as well? I remember when I was training in this little gym in the Forest of Dean. It was a tiny gym, probably like twice the size of this room. And I was the biggest guy in there. I was 80 kilo. I was the biggest guy in there. And I moved to Dubai. And the first gym I went into was Train SF, Oculus. And I saw like all the guys in there. And I was like, holy shit, I'm actually like really not big at all. Because I thought I was pretty big. And I moved here and I was like, okay, I've got a long way to go. And I think if I'd stayed in that same environment, maybe I would have got a bit bigger, but my bodybuilding wouldn't have progressed how it has. Yeah, no way.
It's saying perspective is everything, right?
Yeah.
It's makes big difference. What's your approach to nutrition? What does your nutrition look like now?
Now, I generally eat, I hate to say the word clean.
Non-processed shit, basically.
I generally eat non-processed shit, yeah. Mostly just because of like, if I eat bad food, I feel like my skin, my sleep, all gets a bit affected. So I go off feeling again. I'm doing so much output at the moment. It doesn't really matter what I eat because I'm losing weight anyway. You know, I'm just shy of 100 kilo and I'm doing probably like 3 hours of pretty hard training a day. So I can get away with eating what I want, but I'll eat 3 decent meals that are clean, and then some shakes. I usually have like nuts, and if I want something, I'll have it. And it's something that in bodybuilding, I know everyone in bodybuilding say I was so strict, but when I say like to the gram, I mean to the gram with everything. Because I had that obsessive mindset, like when I left the Marines as well. I was like, this is like discipline. I have to do it. I almost got off on like being so accurate with it. And I was so restricted that when I stopped doing it recently, I was like, I don't need to be, like I've just lost 5 kilos now in maybe 2 months or something. And I've had a vacation in that. I've eaten out every weekend. I've gone to the cinema once a week. So you don't need to miss out on life just to make results, just to get results, unless you're a high level bodybuilder.
Yeah, and it's in the tail end of prep, right? It's like,
yeah, because I think, I mean, I'm guilty for this myself, is when I was first started bodybuilding, if somebody come to me and said, I want to lose weight, I would be like, right, bodybuilding diet.
Chicken and broccoli.
Yeah, and I would
5 times a day.
I would put clients on that, and then this is what I was only just started off as a coach. But when they would struggle, I'd be like, right, why are they struggling? Because when I was on it, I was like, I want to win the show. So my incentive to eat food I didn't want to eat was so strong because I wanted to fucking win the show. But someone who just wants to look a bit more confident for their girlfriend or go on a holiday to Magaluf, they don't care about having shredded glutes. So their incentive is like, I just want to do it for life. So I made the mistake there myself in the past with clients or things like that. But now I know you can eat fairly flexible and happy. And the most important thing is, if you're enjoying a diet, you'll stick to it. If you fucking hate a diet, you're going to find the nearest excuse possible.
I say the same thing that as well from a training point of view. Is like, if you hate doing fucking back squats, you shouldn't have back squats in your program.
Yeah.
Because inherently, if you don't like something, you're not going to try very hard at it, right? So it's really understanding that. And I've really got that in my own training now. It's the point where, like, I've gone up like 17 kilos in 5 months of body weight. So my strength's gone up a lot. So
Yeah, you've blown it.
yeah, I've got to the point where, like, I've been swapping. I get to a point in exercise and I'm like, I fucking don't like this anymore. Like, it's gone up loads of strength and it's just not going anywhere. I'm like, I'm just going to sack this off. And you're fortunate now, the gyms here have so many different, like, okay, there's 8 lat pull downs. Which one should I go to next? And I think that's an important thing, to not be married to anything specifically in terms of, like, I have to use the Cybex hack squat, otherwise my quads will not grow. Or, like, because some people are so obsessive about fucking certain piece of equipment.
I think it's a very British bodybuilding thing at the moment, I see.
Yeah, like there's some like badge of honor for doing 6 plates on a Cybex hat squat or whatever. And it's like, reality, no one gives a shit. It's what you look like.
Yeah. How do you look on stage?
Do your knees still work?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I'm a big fan of ideally people trying not to use like knee sleeve wraps and stuff like that if possible, because I think it's important for you to be able to build like strength, resilience in your joints, because otherwise I think that becomes a bit of a crutch for people.
Yeah, but you see a lot of guys as well, they're doing like reverse bands, and I
understand why
it has a place,
yeah,
but to the point where the bands are like as thick as my arm,
yeah,
and you've got 8 plates on, I'm like, you do
might as well just put 4 plates in, and
but it looks good for Instagram, but I don't know. I think
the secret, in my opinion, of hypertrophy is how do you make the exercise more difficult with less weight rather than trying to put more weight on, which I think is people are stuck in the other way around of like how, and I think that's an age thing where I'm like, I want to do this for the next 20 years and be able to walk and not have fucking pain in my knees all the time. That how can I get the most from the least? And the same when you talk about food, performance enhancing drugs people use, whatever, like how can I not completely trash my body in this process?
Yeah, because that's something I was doing a lot of, especially when I first moved to Dubai. I saw everyone loads bigger than me, loads stronger than me. I said, right, they're doing like 20 plates on the leg press. I need to be doing this. And I was moving it, but my legs weren't growing. I was getting strong, but like at what cost? My knees, my lower back, my hips. I was like 24, 25 maybe. And I'm like, my knees were trash. My lower back was trash. I couldn't like lie down properly because my back would spasm. But I was like, oh, I'm pushing so much more than I was this time last year. And now I got to the point where I'm like, okay, what exercise can I do that doesn't hurt my knees, doesn't hurt my back, but I actually get just as much like stimulus in the muscle that I want to develop. So it's just trying to be a little bit more intelligent with it rather than just like brute force everything.
My favorite comment people make when I put out videos with this is, oh, Arnold used to do it. I was like, it's fucking like 50 years ago, dude. It's like they didn't have a fucking, I don't know, prime incline press machine at that point. It was literally like a bar and a fucking plate. Like that was it. And a cable machine maybe.
It's like, trust me, he would be using different equipment.
Yeah, it's like, do you think if Arnold Schwarzenegger was in 2023, he would be doing barbell squats and flat bench all the time? Probably not.
It's the same with social media though. Like a lot of the older bodybuilders, like, oh, I see these young kids on social media. They don't care about bodybuilding. I think, yeah, but if you had social media back in the day, these guys would do a photo shoot a week when they were in peak condition. So you're telling me that you didn't care about publicity? You didn't want people to see your pictures? Of course you did. You didn't have access to it. So now you've got like younger people posting their progress on Instagram every day. You can't really criticize them for it because you don't get money from magazines anymore. You know, like guys would be in Flex magazine and stuff. They get a contract, right? They don't do that anymore. So everyone has their own individual social media of way to get noticed, to get sponsors, to make money through the sport of bodybuilding as well. So I know a lot of the older guys have like been criticizing it. It's like times change. People, there's no money in bodybuilding really, is there? Everyone has to go their own way about it.
And I think it's that expression, the cream will rise to the crop. I'm interested, obviously, you've done pretty well, you mentioned, in terms of your social media growing pretty quickly over the last 2-3 years. So it slowed down a bit thanks to Instagram gods. What do you put that down to?
To be honest, I'm glad that I started working on my social media when I did, because I feel like there wasn't loads and loads of guys who were doing it at the time. There was a bit, but I think I progressed pretty quickly in terms of my physique and things like that. And I kind of got in, like I started to meet people who were already quite good on it, like Tom Coleman and things like that. So I competed against him, and then he sponsored me for a bit with his clothing brand. Things like that helped my social media, kind of who you were in with. But then also just 2020 and 2021, was probably my best year for competing and things like that. And I was just posting, I think I did 4 or 5 shows back to back over the space of a few months. So I was just posting constant peak condition photos, which were then getting shout outs and reposts from other bodybuilding pages. So that kind of helped it grow a lot more. But I think in my off season, my social media was so slow, because no one wants to post someone who's sounds stupid, but 12% body fat. And people want to see 4 or 5% body fat.
Yeah, shredded out your face.
Yeah. So, and I think it's actually a lot of pressure for me after one of my last shows was to get back to a healthy body weight, because I make money through my social media. I was people don't like to see you when you're off season. They like to see
join the fucking team of doing a year off season. It's
so it's I want to stay in peak condition, even though I know it's bad for my health, because this is how I get noticed more. This is how I get more engagement. This is how I get more people signing up to my coaching. This is how I get more sponsorship money. So it's quite a lot of pressure to okay, I just want to stay lean, but then also I want to progress and grow muscle to win shows next year. So it was do I just keep cutting?
And if you get stuck in that paradigm, then it's an expression you can't chase 2 rabbits, so you can't try and get fucking huge, and you can't also be shredded at the same time. You need to be in a deficit to be shredded. You need to eat in surplus to build muscle. Right? So it's it's that thing when people come to you, it's I want to get huge, but I want to get shredded. I was you need to focus on one at a time.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
It's not a perfect world. Unless you're in a position where you're you've never trained before, you're coming back from an injury. That's the only other exception to the rule with that.
So as you and I are now, training for
it's not going to
good 10 years.
I don't know how you could get such a response like that. I don't know. This is a really weird thing. Do you know the EMS electromagnetic?
Yeah.
So I did 2 sessions with that with a guy called Andy Velchik in the US. Fuck me. I couldn't fucking lift my arms up the next day. I was insane. I think if I did that for 12 weeks, 4 times a week, I think your body would be I don't know how it'd go about maybe retaining some of that, because it's such a weird stimulus.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can think.
Never tried it.
It's the only way I could think you could really shock your system with something that's completely different.
I see a lot of the top pros using them now for quads and stuff, mostly on leg extensions and things.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I plan on doing that when we go to Vegas in a month or 2. But I think I took a photo. I was much leaner at the time. My fucking upper body was just ballooned. Every corner of muscle fibers in your chest were just getting forced to light up that you don't really use.
Do that before you go on stage.
In fact, actually, that's actually a fucking good idea. That's fucking smart. No one's ever thought that. We have to edit this out. Maybe this could be we can come up with a secret device to do that. But that would be something I think that could maybe get new stimulus. I know one of the big things that you're really heavily into now is martial arts and boxing. How does that sit in with your training, and how do you not break yourself with doing so much volume?
I've changed my weightlifting a lot. My volume's a lot. I love volume usually. I'd go and do 5-6 exercises on chest, 4-5 sets of each exercise, just because I love doing it. But now I find like I can do it, but then I'll struggle if I have like a Muay Thai session the next day. I've trained up a body. Me holding my hands up for an hour kills me. And everyone says you need to lose muscle if you want to keep your hands up. But I don't want to lose. Yeah, I'm not trying to get anywhere with the sport. I just enjoy it. So I kind of have to work around it. And it's like I can't train legs before a session because I'm kicking. I'm on my feet a lot. So I've dropped my volume down. For chest day, for example, I will do like 3 exercises now. I'll do flies. I'll do like a heavy incline barbell press, and then I'll do a machine that I find works. I'll do 4 sets on each of those, hard till failure, and that's all I do. I keep my volume a little bit lower now, and I find it's a lot less stress on my shoulders, my elbows, things like that.
I know one of the things we also spoke about before this was deep tissue massage was a big thing I'm a huge advocate for, which I think for anyone who, particularly as you get older, or if you're trying to really like dramatically add a lot of muscle to your frame, or you're doing a new sport like boxing, Thai boxing, I think is really important because you get so many like impingements and like muscles just knotting up all the time.
Yeah.
Would you say that's something that's helped you?
So I try to get one every sort of 5 days if I can, and I can tell the difference if I miss one or I'm busy or traveling. I can really tell the difference, especially between the mobility, hips, shoulders, and my neck. I go like 2 weeks without a deep tissue. I get migraines because of the muscles of my neck pull tight through my head. So I get a lot of work done to my neck, shoulders, and now especially I'm doing lots of stretching. I get pains in different areas as I'm loosening off.
Yeah,
I'm finding like ranges of motion I never had before. So deep tissue for me is, it just stops me. Also, it enables me to just keep going, I think.
What does your stretching routine look like at the moment? Do you stretch after weight training, after kickboxing? How does that look?
I actually try to do it completely separate. Okay. I'm doing a row challenge at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this. Yeah,
it's like 15 minutes or 15 days. Sounds easy, but
is that 15 minutes straight in one session?
Yes, it's pretty much just like some are intervals, some are like 50 minutes straight. It's different things like this, but I have like 20 people doing it at the moment, and I took the row on the first day, 50 minutes straight, and I'm doing like a sort of a program for the 15 days. Some of them don't know this yet, and on the last day, the 15th, the last session will be the same as the first one. So we're going to see how much they've improved by, and the winner might get a little gift.
How's the training changed over the days from say day 1 15 minutes straight? What would day 2, 3, 4, 5 look like?
So we do like intervals.
Yes.
Some intervals will be like a minute on, 30 seconds off, 15 minutes, which is pretty, doesn't sound that hard, but anyone who's used the rower intensely, it's pretty disgusting. So what I'll do is I'll do like 2 or 3 days hard, and then I'll do like a back off row, which will be sort of 15 minutes, but you got to keep your strokes less than 20, which is a slow. Like most people's pull rate is like 30 to 36 in my group.
What's yours?
28 to 30. Mine's quite slow. I'm still like a bodybuilder, so I do the row like a
leg press through.
Yeah. So I do like quite powerful, but slower. Some people are better,
quick.
Yeah, short and fast.
What makes the bigger difference? Is it the speed you go out, or is it the power output and just how much drop force you
power output? Yeah.
Okay.
You see guys who are really good. I think like Eddie Hall's brother has the fastest 1,000 meters in the world.
I saw a video, I don't know if you've seen it, of Brian Shaw using a rowing machine. Yeah. It sounded like a jumbo jet. It sounded like it was going to fucking explode because he put so much power through this thing.
Yeah, so like strong guys are really good sort of under a kilometer. And after that becomes a CV kind of
issue.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've been using the row now for maybe like 9 months. It's taken my fitness levels like crazy. I hated it before, always hated it. But for all round like conditioning, I think it's one of the best.
And how do you program that in again with the weight training, martial arts, rowing? Is that effectively like stretching? Is that almost like 3 sessions a day some days?
Yeah, so a row for me, at the minute it's 15 minutes, just for this 15 days. But usually it'll be between like 40 and an hour. And not straight, that'll be intervals. So I'll do like 500 meters on and a minute off. I find those are the ones that really work your fitness, especially for like Thai boxing and things like that, where you get a minute rest. But if it's going to be a hard one, I will do a completely different session. So I'll do like for example, I'll do a martial arts in the morning, then I'll follow that up with a weight session, so I can keep it fairly low intensity then for a weight session, and then I'll do the row in the evening.
Do you have a gap between the martial arts and the weight session?
It depends.
What the body part is?
Yeah. I'll usually like when we trained, I did kickboxing and arms. Arms fairly, I wouldn't go and do like a heavy leg day straight after. So I'll usually try and program that around.
What would you say is your biggest experience in terms of moving to Dubai? In terms of, do you think you'll be here for good? Does this feel like home for you now?
I first moved here probably the same as everyone. I said I'm going to do 1 year. I do 1 year, and I hated it. To be honest, I hated it. Yeah. It was when did I move here? 2016.
Why did you move here initially?
Obviously, I did the PT course in the UK. Started PTing for £15 an hour. So, this is
shit.
Pretty shit. Actually, do you remember the DW gyms?
Yeah. I think there's still a few of them around. Yeah.
I think I was working at a DW gym, and I had to pay £500 a month just to be a PT there. And then
that's a lot of hours to then.
Yeah,
that doesn't fucking work.
I was like, what the fuck is this? And then a guy I knew from the Marines was out here PTing. He's like, I see you're a PT. Why don't you go out to Dubai? So I've never been to Dubai in my life. I don't want to move to Dubai. Knew nothing about Dubai. I had no interest in.
What year was this?
2016.
Okay.
And he's like, look, we can get you a job. I can get you like set up with like 5 clients the day you land. Okay. I've got nothing to lose. So I literally just like packed up. I had a girlfriend at the time. Just said like, I come to Dubai. So when I was like in 4 weeks, sold everything I owned and moved out here. But yeah, to be honest, I hated it. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any. I was working a lot. To be honest, I didn't take a day off for like 6 weeks. The first day I got here, and I was working like 8-10 clients a day, driving around in my little rental car, getting lost, getting stressed.
The roads are fucking stressful.
Yeah, I had like no Google Maps or anything like this.
Did they not have Google Maps back then?
They had it, yeah, but I was still on my like British phone,
Nokia 3310.
yeah. But I wasn't very well prepared or well set up. I didn't know anybody here. I just found everything very expensive, very stressful. I was working lots of hours, but I was working on a 50% commission as well. So I was earning like 150 dirhams per PT session. I'm doing 10 of them a day. It's not bad, but you end up working so hard and not getting much of a return. And I was, to be honest, I didn't like it until I met my girlfriend I'm with now. I've been with her like 4.5 years. I didn't have any familiarity with Dubai. I was like, I'm going to leave, but I'm not going to leave because I'm quit. I'm only going to leave Dubai if something better comes up. So then I met my girlfriend here, and then she started showing me actually, because she grew up here. She's like, oh, this place is fun. This place is nice. Nobody ever showed me that before.
You just got stuck here, PT.
Yeah, it's like I'd go to the mall, and I would like eat at the mall on a Friday night on my own, and I would go back to my like shitty little room. So I just didn't like it at all. And then, I got with her, and I met her family, and I got a dog, and all of a sudden it just became like home to me. And now we have our own little spots that we go to, and it's very homely now. But when I first moved here, I hated it. I swear I hated it.
It's funny how things work out and how your life can get down a certain path just because one person knew the Marines reached out to be like, do you want to come in? Do you still see him now?
No.
Okay. But it's funny how that one person has completely changed the course of your entire life. Well, like we'll be sitting here right now.
What's funny is I wanted to do private security, right? And then I got in a fight in Cardiff, and if I didn't get in that fight, so pretty much if I didn't punch this guy, I wouldn't have got a criminal record, and I wouldn't have done my PT course. I wouldn't have moved here. So it was literally just like if I came out of this bar a minute before or after, I probably wouldn't be here. So
a sequence of events, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, really. But
what's the goal for your next 5 years?
Some I'll tell you afterwards. Yeah, because I don't want to say anything until it's
done.
In stone. But personally, with myself, I like coaching. I'm going to continue to coach online, but a main aim of mine now is I want to set up like fitness events, similar to like something like CrossFit, but not CrossFit, because I think there's a bit of a gap. You know, like High Rocks is quite big now, but High Rocks is still very running heavy. So you get guys who are runners who can do weights. I want to set something up similar to this, but you haven't got to be a runner, because I know a lot of big guys actually because they're not fit, they can't run. It's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I know guys are 120 kilos and they're so fit, but running on their knees is not good. So I want to set something up similar to that. This is where my 15 by 15 challenge, I want to see kind of progress into this. So yeah, a sequence of events, things like that, which is based all around fitness, agility, climbing, things like that. Bit like, I guess, a little bit of the Marines in there, a little bit of like weightlifting in there, a little bit of like my conditioning, rowing kind of stuff, maybe like some martial arts kind of thing, all tied into one event. That's my goal in it, 5 years.
One last question for you, 30 now. What piece of advice would you give yourself at 20?
I guess hindsight is a wonderful thing, right? Because I would say when I left the Marines at 22, for example, I know but I was panicking. It's like, I don't know what I want to do. I needed all the answers then. So I guess at 20, I was in quite a safe and secure career. But around that age, I felt like I needed all the answers then. Now I'm 30, I don't have all the answers now, but I'm okay with it because I have a couple of answers and I'm just working, make sure that this year and the next year work towards that goal. I was thinking, like, what am I going to do in 5 years' time? Where am I going to be in 10 years' time? I don't really know where I'm going to be in 10 years' time from now, but what I know is 12 months from now, if I'm 20% better than I was last year, that's a lot of progress.
100%. Thank you for your time, Toby. Where's the best place for everyone to find out about you?
Probably my Instagram, Toby_Richard. Yeah, that's it. I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah. Awesome. So thank you very much for your time. For everyone who's listening to the podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review and subscribe on YouTube. If you listen to this, enjoy it, you share it to stories and tag me and Toby, I'll share it. We'll see you next episode very, very soon.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
Cheers, man.